did you consult with the president?
No.
You seemingly acting as a representative of the United States.
I wasn't representing anybody except for me
around the world.
And doing good.
I would question myself in the same situation and consider the consequences.
People were going to die.
Welcome to It's Been Real. I'm Muktar.
And I'm Ben. Today's movie, we're going to be looking at Superman for 2025, and the reason why you need to go see it in theaters.
So, Ben, speaking of Superman 2025, I think where I would like to start is with the director himself and the world he's building of this DCU, his vision for the DCU, and as well as his vision of this movie. So, do you want to help me cover that a little bit?
Absolutely. So, James Gunn, you can tell he is an expert at creating these worlds that we just jump right into. Like you've seen him do that in Suicide Squad and other movies like Guardians of the Galaxy. He really brings us right into the world of Superman and dealing with a complicated situation. The world is under attack by all these different forces, both geopolitical as well as like other metahumans that are on this planet and villains like Lex Luthor. He also establishes that this is an everyday world for Superman and Clark Kent. He's basically, living two lives as a Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. But what I really love about his vision is that he really sets up the world building, explaining the rules of the world and how it's just every day to Superman of what he experienced. So you really accept that he's just going to hit the ground running. It's not a reboot. It's actually going into a place that when I walked in, I had a blank mind. I didn't know exactly what to expect. And then I'm realizing, wait a second, this Superman already knows his world and he's real familiar with it. What were your takes on the vision of James Gunn?
Honestly, I can't really stray too far from what you said. I think he wanted to get us in and running, right? He didn't want to have to rehash a lot of the stories we know. Again, that text crawl in the beginning of this movie, I think sets this movie up really well.
It
right?
really did. Yeah.
It lets us know that metas have existed, way, way, way before the events of this movie. It lets us know
those metahumans.
Right,
yeah.
Like 3 centuries ago, I think was when the first metahuman got introduced to the universe. It also lets us know that Superman again has been a hero in this universe. That the first time we see Superman in this movie is not the first time this world has seen Superman. So I think it does help us move the story and stories that will come from this universe along, right? And I think what does hurt a lot of movies, a lot of comic book movies nowadays is the fact that they want to kind of do a soft origin. This is where this character came from. What made Spider-Man, excuse me going into a different universe, what made Spider-Man Homecoming work and what made that those Spider-Man movies work is the fact that we didn't have to go back and watch Uncle Ben die again, right? I mean, we've seen it twice.
Seen it numerous times.
Exactly. So we know exactly where we are in these universes. Like this universe is a living, breathing universe, even though this is the first movie of this universe, right? It's a living, breathing universe. Things are happening. Things have happened, right? And like you said,
right.
It sets up the villain. It sets up the conflict, again, without having to do too much storytelling. Everything is kind of set up for us to enjoy it. And I think James Gunn is trying to show us what he has planned for the DCU moving forward. And I like you, I went in blank, but now more so I have faith in his vision for the DC universe and the movies moving forward. So speaking of world building and world building characters, let's talk about the characters in this movie. And I think to talk about them, from Superman all the way down to see how they help move the movie along, right? So Superman, David Cornsweet, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane. Can you please go ahead and give us a little bit of how you felt about them in this movie?
Absolutely. You really find that they do have a chemistry. They remind me a lot of Christopher Reeves and Margot Kidder in the classic Superman films. You can see it in their mannerisms, the way that they talk, the way they dress. They have a lot of that joking around between each other, but really gives it another layer is that they've had a long relationship going on where they actually know each other both personally and publicly around others. But there's even layers that are revealed later that I didn't know about unless you were a comic book reader, which I really enjoyed discovering new things about comic books because I'm a comic book nut from my childhood. But there were so many things I just discovered. I didn't know there was an issue about. You'll have to watch the film to see some of these spoilers, but it is a fascinating way of putting the explanation of some things about Clark Kent. So, and then Rachel, I really liked her part as Lois Lane because Rachel really delivered lines and acted in her body language and mannerisms a lot like Margot Kidder did in the classic Christopher Reeve Supermans. And so I really like that because I could see that she's channeling Margot Kidder. Even though there's so much complexity in this movie overall, there was still some time for character building.
Yes. Yeah, so I agree with you. And I have to say this, let me preface this. I'm not a Lois Lane fan. I've never really been a Lois Lane fan. I think
Yeah.
she's important to the Superman mythos, and I respect that, but I've never been like the strongest Lois and Clark supporter. But the as you said, the chemistry between Rachel and David in this movie kind of elevate the story that was told between them. There's numerous conversations like the one that we played in the clip before we started this review. That conversation makes you kind of feel bad, but you feel bad for Clark and Superman in that scene, but you understand Rachel, you understand Lois Lane as an avid reporter, as a very, very serious reporter, right? You understand where she's coming
Yeah.
from, and in a way it makes you think, right? As I think one of the things of this movie is what, like, again, we're going to get into that, but that scene does make you think about the themes in this movie and what this movie is trying to sell. So let's talk about again the lesser characters. I don't even want to call them lesser characters because I feel personally every character in this movie had a part to play. But let's talk about the villain of this movie, Lex Luthor and Nicholas Hoult, because I think I've watched enough Lex Luthor in my life.
Same
First of
here.
all, Superman is one of my favorite superheroes. I've read a lot of Superman comics. I've read a lot of Superman with Lex Luthor comics. Lex Luthor is one I've watched a lot of Lex Luthor, but I think this version of Lex is the most sinister version of Lex that I've seen because it blends a lot of the other sinister versions of Lex, like his motive, all the way from his motivations. And I think there's a speech he gives at the end of this movie that just grips you and you understand his motivation. And there's a scene that I didn't think James Gunn was going to go through with and keep in the movie, but they kept, and it had me look at Lex a different way because, like, we've seen Lex do some really bad things, but I don't think I've ever seen Lex do what that scene depicted. And it's funny, as much of everything people are talking about in this movie, no one is talking about that scene. That scene really caught me unawares. Again, this is a spoiler-free review, so I'll wait till you guys see the movie and we can talk about it later. But yes, did you have something you want to add on Lex?
I agree. I think Lex Luthor is right up there with the Joker. It's about time that we have a really refreshing new look on Lex Luthor. He looks like he comes straight out of like the 1990s or that really serious, slick, real swagger kind of Lex Luthor that's got attitude and the looks to back it. And he still has a little of that attitude like the classic Lex Luthor did, where he's
Mhm.
kind of clever and smart. But I like the fact that he's got a lot of money, a lot of power and connections, and I love the fact that he uses his intelligence to try to overpower Superman. And and that's what I really liked. One thing that I liked in this movie too, talking about those resources, and one topic that you brought up once, Mukhtar, is the world itself and how much it's related to today,
Mm,
where you have the Daily Planet basically running on the internet, just dealing with social media and having online presence, as well as Lex Luthor dealing with today's technology
right.
and really having us connect with not so much super science fictiony, but stuff that you could see in some ways could be going on today for
Right,
their
right.
technology, which I thought was fascinating.
Right. And I think it does help to see that in some portions of this movie you saw people with cell phones out, right? It's like,
Exactly.
how does news media get to run, right? When in today's world, when you can go on Twitter and you can literally look at all the news that's on there, but this movie kind of made a way for all of that to work. Like, it made the Daily Planet real, because I think what would have killed it for me is if the Daily Planet was like that old or everyone was still reading newspapers type deal. I think that would have not sat with me, but it did see, how how he decided to play up the Daily Planet as a character on its own worked.
When Jimmy Olsen got on the helicopter with Perry White and Lois Lane, and he pulled out his laptop and he
Yeah,
was setting up actually, to post it online.
exactly.
And
Supposed supposed
that's
yeah,
yeah.
that's literally
It's like,
how
how do you
things
think
work
news
now.
goes on?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
just like this.
yeah, and what would have made it killer for me if they posted it and they'd have put it behind a paywall, because that's literally how
Exactly.
like subscribe for $1 to read, like stuff like that would have been
Exactly, to
it
read
would
more.
yeah, that would have been funny, but I mean, James Gunn decided to stay away from that. But right. So let's so those three characters again help build the world. They shape the movie tonally to me,
Yeah.
honestly. Eddie had sorry, Eddie. Mr. Terrific had a more serious tone to him, and like you said, it'll be fun to see all these characters moving forward and where they land. Right. I think what James
Right.
also is trying to do is to tell you that everything that's coming into this universe will have its own tone. Speaking of those three characters and how they help fill out the world and build the world out, and the tonal shifts of those three characters,
Yeah.
they're going to land in all other series, right? Hopefully, you know what? I'll be excited to see the Terrifics. Mr. Terrific with Plastic Man and his gang will be amazing to
Oh
watch.
yeah.
That would be
Looking
great.
forward to that.
Look, yeah, and then
Big fan of
Hawk
Plastic
Girl.
Man.
Hawk Girl, like you said, hopefully we see Hawkman, and maybe they set up that relationship from the Justice League animation with her and John Stewart. That would be good to watch. Also, Guy Gardner is going to be landing into the Lanterns TV show on HBO Max. That's going to be a more serious tonal show. They're going to be doing some detective work. They're talking about it's going to look like True Detectives. So all of that is going to be tonally different and visually different. Speaking of visuals and music and themes, let's talk about the visuals, music, and themes from this movie.
I think the visuals were a lot like Guardians of the Galaxy and a lot of the previous films that James Gunn has made. If you go in with that kind of view of what the movie's going to be like, you'll really enjoy it. Another thing I really liked about it is there's a lot of homages to the classic films of Richard Donner's. So you'll see the opening titles, the ending titles, they're all based. You can see their influence from the original Superman films. The music, you can hear John Williams in it. So it has a feel that just the score of the film is really good. And I'm really looking forward to getting a chance to see it again sometime.
Speaking of seeing it again sometime, Ben, I'm hoping to see it again in Dolby. Reason I'm hoping to see it in Dolby, I saw it in IMAX on my first viewing, and it looked amazing.
Oh, that's awesome.
Looking to see it in Dolby because I want to hear it now. I want to listen to the music. There was a scene in the movie where I think Superman was doing something and it borrowed a little bit of the John Williams theme. John Murphy and David Fleming did an amazing job using the guitar riffs and tweaking and making their and finding their own sound for this movie. So I enjoyed hearing it as I was watching it, but I think I want to hear it a lot louder. So I'm going to go see it in Dolby. Of course, I'm going to own this on physical when it drops, and hopefully
Oh, same here. I want to see it. I want to. I
I
want
want to
to
see it
own
as
it too
many
when it
times
comes
as
out.
possible.
I
Um,
agree with you.
yeah, and the visuals worked. I think again, what people like you said, Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a very hopeful movie, a very fun and bright movie, vibrant in terms of looks. So it's one of those movies
I agree.
that looked good, felt really good, and a lot of the things felt real. Like that kaiju had weight to it. They were fighting that kaiju in the city had weight to it, and when Superman and the punchable villain. That's what I'm going to use in this one. I'm not going to tell you who the villain is, but the punchable villain in
Yeah.
this movie, because there's like multiple villains, but the punchable villain in this movie, that fight at the end was awesome, and it felt again weighty. There were a lot of things that felt really good in the movie. The flight scenes looked good. Crypto. Oh my goodness. What can I say? That dog looked and felt real. Literally have to put my dog in a crate sometimes because she can get a little bit testy and annoying. And I can imagine how Superman had to. You can't crate Crypto, so how do you deal with that dog?
No, it's actually. I didn't know it was actually motion captured by the
Yeah,
actual dog
yeah.
Olive. I didn't
There's
know that.
yeah.
So no wonder it
It's
looks so real. And
yes,
don't forget
yes.
the theme behind this movie. Remember the
Oh
theme?
yeah. Theme behind this
Yeah.
movie is just basic human kindness, right? So again, we're going back
Yeah.
to the scene we played right
Optimism and
before.
good.
Yeah, right before we started this movie, where it's like, Superman, why would you go into another country and affect, like, geopolitical stuff? people were going to die. Like, it didn't matter to me that there was a lot of red tape in politics and I can't stop myself from being kind. Speaking of, Superman in the middle of a battle in the city stops to save a squirrel. That might not be that's a funny scene.
Oh,
And
just wait until you find out what Lex Luthor is asked to
right,
do. I mean,
right.
you can really see whose side is on who,
Yeah,
very
there's
clearly.
very, very clear. So it's like it just helps that the theme of this movie just bleeds all the way through, even up to the fact that there's also a thing that happens in the movie where with Jor-El and Lana Zor-El, like in that, and then Superman's parents, and you can just tell why this movie does establish why he is the way he is. How does this movie fit into our world right now?
I feel it has a lot of reflections on today's time, dealing with the complications and the wars that we have going on, and even issues that we have at home. But at the end of the day, it is about just kindness and being good to others. And so that's the message and the theme of this movie. I think that really brings out on Superman. And you'll learn that when you watch this movie and find where he kind of gets that from back at home, where he grew up, which
Mhm.
I think that is really something that was nice to see and to realize what's most important in life.
Right. Last
So what
question
did
then.
you think?
Oh, 100%. I think it fits smack, like, without being too, it does fit right into our world as it is right now. Again, we brought the thing about the Daily Planet. We talked about people are having their phones out when you're watching a natural disaster instead of helping.
Yeah,
Um, so those are things that were happening in this movie, and then it does again lend to the just be kind. And I think what makes David now my second most favorite Superman, person to play Superman ever, is he embodied that throughout the entire movie. You could tell David himself is a very kind person, and it almost felt like he wasn't acting a lot of the times. He was just being, and it just works. Again, it shows the chemistry. It goes to play again into the chemistry with him and Lois Lane, and how that they work together so well. Where she's a little more skeptical, and she's the more critical
a
person.
realist. She's
Yeah,
trying to be
realist.
real
And
in the
Superman is
world.
just, and he's just an idealist. He's
Yeah,
like, things are just supposed to
yeah,
be good, no matter what. Everything and I have faith in everyone. And she's like, are you sure about that? So
yeah,
they kind of work really well together, and it also kind of, the two of them, I think, at the end of the movie find a balance, and they
yeah,
decide, okay, we're going to one make this work between us, and we're going to try to figure out how to make the world better, which is why I think she does what she does closer to the end of the movie. James Gunn nailed it, and so I am very happy with that. So I'm going to tell everyone every day to go see this movie when I get a chance. And all my friends have seen it and they've loved it, so I'm ecstatic. What about you, Ben? What are your
Same
thoughts on it?
here. I have to say it's the summer blockbuster movie, and it's about time to have one.
Right,
So it's been a while since we have a really good, fun, happy summer movie to go to, and this is it. I'm going to be
right.
doing the same thing. I'm going to be telling my friends and everybody tomorrow, you got to go see this movie.
All right, fantastic. So before we go, we have to let you know to like and subscribe. See it right there, down there, like and subscribe. Also hit the bell, because we will be dropping a lot more videos. We will be dropping a lot more videos. Again, like, I think, Ben, it's not just going to be movies that we're seeing in the future, right?
Yeah, we're going to do classic films, current films, and topics on films whenever we get a chance to bring it to you.
Right, right. So please like, subscribe, share with your friends. Again, go see Superman. We loved it. Hopefully you love it too. From myself, Mukhtar,
And Ben,
this was
it's been
It's
real.
Been Real.